The film takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where fierce creatures constantly attack the few remaining survivors. We are introduced to James, a man trying to escape from some infected individuals. We also meet a young boy named Tio, who lives alone in that dark world. Next, we meet the friends Bonin and Vezina, who are cremating some infected before returning to the camp. During the trip through the forest, Vezina spots a woman and a child in the distance. He asks Bonin to stop the vehicle and gets out to check, realizing he knows those people. Vezina decides to give the two a dignified end and approaches them, while Bonin disapproves of the idea. He points the gun at them, but cannot pull the trigger and decides to go back. However, a growl coming from deep within the forest catches his attention. Bonin questions what he is doing, but Vezina ignores his friend and moves forward. While waiting, Bonin notices the child staring at him from afar and finds the behavior strange. At the same time, Vezina finds a frightened boy in a tree, but soon discovers it is a trap. The gunshots worry Bonin, while Vezina manages to eliminate the infected woman. However, he ends up getting bitten during the attack. The situation becomes even worse when he notices a group of infected children. Vezina runs back to the car while Bonin starts the vehicle, and the two manage to escape. Meanwhile, James ends up cornered, but Tio appears and manages to save him. James reveals that he had to kill his own wife after she became infected. He says that when everything began, he heard on the radio that help was coming. He remained optimistic for a while, but nobody ever arrived. He eventually lost hope, and consumed by guilt, James admits that he abandoned his family. Tio tries to comfort him by saying that he also believed things would get better. In a flashback, we discover that Teo's mother became infected, forcing the boy to kill her. The friends have one last conversation before saying goodbye, and Bonin returns completely shaken. At the same time, we meet Celine, a survivor who arrives at a house searching for gasoline. However, she is quickly subdued by Pauline and her sister Teresa. The two women order Celine to remove her clothes, explaining that they need to check whether she has been bitten. After confirming she is safe, the three sit down for a drink, and Pauline says she can live there if she wants. Back to Bonin, he arrives at the cabin and finds his colleague Race, who asks about Vezina. Bonin only gives a sad expression, and Race quickly understands what happened. Without the courage to finish off his friend, Bonin asks Race to do it for him. Afterward, the two talk about Steve, who still has not returned from the forest. Bonin believes he was bitten, and Race admits that possibility exists. While putting away the shovel, Bonin notices a woman tied to his bed and questions his friend about it. Race explains that she claimed to have been bitten by a dog, but he decided to tie her up for safety. He then asks Bonin to stay quiet and heads into the forest to hunt. Later, Bonin talks to the woman and tries to discover the truth, but she keeps insisting on the same story. She introduces herself as Tanya, but Bonin remains suspicious and decides to leave the place. Meanwhile, in the forest, Race is attacked by an infected, and his screams catch Bonin's attention. He runs to free Tanya, and the two get into the vehicle while waiting for their friend to return. An infected jumps onto the hood of the car, forcing the two to flee while more creatures appear. During the escape, Tanya is almost attacked by Race, who is now infected. She grabs Bonin's gun and manages to neutralize the creature, and even frightened, the two continue on. After a few hours, the duo finds a farm and decides to investigate the place. While Bonin searches outside, Tanya enters the house and ends up hearing a noise coming from the second floor. She goes upstairs to investigate and finds a frightened little girl hiding in a room. Tanya cleans up the young girl, who introduces herself as Zoe, and decides to take care of her. Upon meeting the girl, Bonin shows little reaction and soon leaves the place. The three continue traveling, and during the journey, they end up hearing a voice on the radio. We discover it is Teresa, trying to contact her son but receiving no answer. Later, the two women decide to rest while Bonin stays on watch. In the morning, Tanya goes out to relieve herself, but when returning, she accidentally steps on something and makes noise. Frightened by a growl coming from the woods, she quickly crouches down to hide. When she gets up to check, Tanya notices an infected that quickly detects her. She tries to sneak slowly through the bushes, but ends up being surprised and almost attacked by the creature. However, Bonin appears at the last moment and brutally kills the infected, while Tanya remains in shock. Afterward, she ends up panicking, but soon returns to the car. As they prepare to leave, Demers, a local resident, suddenly appears and startles them. He warns that the infected are behaving strangely and invites Bonin to come see. Upon arriving at the location, Bonin finds several infected gathered together. He notices that the creatures are piling up objects that seem important to them. Surprised, he realizes the infected appear to be acting with a certain level of reasoning. However, one of them notices his presence and alerts the others, forcing Bonin to flee. At the same time, Tanya notices the infected movement and runs back to the vehicle. Later, the group arrives at the sister's house, and Bonin delivers the news that Race has been killed. Teresa mourns her son's death, but tries to pull herself together and offers shelter to the guests. Soon after, Bonin comments on the strange behavior of the infected, saying he has never seen them act that way before. Everyone gathers to discuss the situation, and Teresa explains that over the past few weeks, they had barely seen any creatures in the region. However, now they have reappeared in much greater numbers, raising doubts about the reason for it. Tanya believes something is blocking the infected's path and suggests everyone head to the city. Pauline and Teresa disagree with the idea, stating they can still reinforce the house's security. Teresa also supports fleeing, saying they cannot stay there much longer. She believes the infected are gathering together and that the house ended up in their path. Later, Bonin and Pauline spread mousetraps throughout the area and begin planning an escape route. Meanwhile, Celine notices Tanya vomiting and also spots the wound on her hand. Tanya claims it was caused by a dog bite, but Celine remains suspicious. During the night, Tanya notices Bonin gathered with the women and decides to approach them. When she asks about the conversation, Teresa reveals that they are discussing the bite on her hand. Tanya questions whether Bonin did not explain it was a dog, but Teresa responds that he cannot confirm that. Uncomfortable with the suspicion, Tanya complains about the situation, yet Teresa states that it is only for everyone's safety. Meanwhile, Pauline, who is on watch duty, hears noises coming from the forest and runs to warn the others. The group goes out to check, and Bonin decides to approach the area alongside Teresa to investigate. However, when they are returning, all the mousetraps begin triggering at the same time, spreading panic across the property. Suddenly, terrifying screams echo through the forest, and everyone starts running desperately. Tanya grabs Zoe and flees with the rest of the group, while the infected invade the place. Terrified, they cross a field until they reach the forest. The creatures quickly enter the woods and begin searching for them. During the escape, the group ends up separated and everyone remains hidden while Bonin tries to lure the infected away. Amid the chaos, Tanya is surprised by a creature and nearly gets bitten. However, Zoe attacks the infected from behind, giving Tanya enough time to kill it. Shortly after, another zombie appears in front of them, but Ceresan reappears and quickly eliminates the creature. Without hesitation, she goes back to face the other infected. Bonin, who was using the radio, notices the situation and decides to return to help her. Later, the group manages to eliminate most of the creatures and finally regroups. When Bonin reappears, Tanya runs to hug him and he returns the gesture. By morning, the group begins the journey to the city using the river spring as a guide. During a stop, James and Teo suddenly appear, leaving everyone on alert. Bonin notices the bite on James's leg, but the man simply continues walking beside Teo. Later, the group finds a farm infested with infected and realizes that it is the only way to cross the region. Taking advantage of the break, Teresa teaches Tanya how to shoot and tells her to fire at anything that moves. Pauline questions whether there truly is no other path, and Bonin explains they could follow the river. However, that would add another day of travel, so he believes the road is still the best option. He also states that the forest beside them could serve as an escape route if something goes wrong. As they move forward, Demers reappears trying to scare them, but Tanya gets startled and accidentally shoots him. Paunin runs to check his condition while Demers apologizes, saying it was only a joke before dying. Tanya becomes desperate over what she has done, but Bonin tries to calm her down, lying that Demers had already been bitten. The rest of the group supports the lie, since everyone considered the man an idiot. Soon after, they begin sneaking slowly through the field overrun with infected. During the crossing, Zoe accidentally makes noise and draws a creature's attention. While the group tries to hide, James and Teo observe everything from afar. Realizing the danger, James decides to act and approaches the girl. The creature turns to observe them again, but James appears at the right moment and stands in front of it, managing to save the group. After crossing the field, everyone remains suspicious and keeps their weapons pointed. James then decides to introduce himself and also introduces Teo to the survivors. Even suspicious of the bite on his leg, they eventually give the two a vote of confidence and continue the journey together. Later, the group takes a break to rest. Teresa distributes food among everyone, while Tanya and Bonin begin growing closer. At the same time, Zoe talks with Teo while Celine continues to distrust James's bite. As they continue traveling, James slowly begins distancing himself from the group, and Teo realizes something is wrong. Worried, the boy returns to look for him, while Celine decides to go back with him. Meanwhile, the rest of the group finds an abandoned cabin and enters the place searching for supplies. During the search, Teresa finds a letter left by the cabin's former resident. In the text, the man reveals that he was the only survivor in the region and that every day he went out searching for other living people. The message leaves everyone on alert. Meanwhile, Teo continues searching for James, but eventually finds the man already transformed into an infected. At the same time, Pauline patrols around the cabin when she senses something approaching. Suddenly, a gunshot echoes through the forest while Teo is attacked by James. The boy's screams catch Celine's attention, and she runs to help him, managing to kill James quickly. Shortly after, the others come running toward the house and find Pauline wounded, with an infected standing in front of her. The group realizes she has been bitten, leaving everyone in shock. In deep sadness, Teresa eliminates the creature responsible for attacking her sister. Meanwhile, Celine talks to Telt one last time and shows him a picture of her family. Then she says goodbye to the boy and ends his suffering using his own gun. After leaving the place, Celine tries to clean herself up but breaks down in tears over what she had to do. At the same time, Teresa also has one last conversation with Pauline and, completely destroyed, ends her own sister's suffering. Later, the group continues traveling while searching abandoned buildings along the way. However, everywhere they go, they can barely find any food, making the situation increasingly desperate. After walking for hours, the group decides to take a short break to rest. Zoe takes the opportunity to sleep a little, while the others try to recover their strength before continuing the journey. Sometime later, they resume walking and eventually arrive at a huge field covered by a dense fog. The place seems far too silent, leaving everyone on alert as they move forward slowly. In the middle of the path, the group notices a young woman sitting alone in the field. Suspicious, Celine decides to approach slowly to understand what is happening. However, when she gets close, Celine realizes that the infected woman is behaving completely differently from the other creatures. The young woman remains still and shows no immediate aggression, causing Celine to hesitate before attacking her. Then, the infected slowly points toward a huge tower made of chairs built in the middle of the fog. Without understanding the meaning of it, Bonin and the others begin observing the strange structure in complete confusion. Meanwhile, Celine realizes the creature seems to be merely trying to buy time for something. The atmosphere becomes even heavier when they begin noticing several silhouettes standing motionless within the fog. Little by little, the group realizes that countless infected were hidden all around them, observing everyone in absolute silence. Suddenly, the young woman makes a strange movement, and Celine quickly slits her throat. However, before dying, the creature manages to emit a loud scream, alerting the other infected. Bonin immediately notices the horde emerging from the fog and orders everyone to run. Desperate, they cross the field while dozens of creatures begin appearing from every direction. Realizing they will not be able to escape together, Teresa decides to stay behind to buy time for the rest of the group. She is quickly surrounded and devoured by the infected, while Celine also chooses to remain behind to fight the creatures. Bonin then hands Zoe over to Tanya and tells the two to keep running before going back to help Celine delay the horde. Tanya quickly takes Zoe to the entrance of an abandoned mine and enters the place to hide with the girl. Meanwhile, Celine continues fighting the infected but eventually gets bitten during the confrontation and slowly transforms into a creature. Now infected, she remains staring at the massive tower of chairs alongside the other zombies. Before leaving, Tanya says goodbye to Zoe and asks her to be strong and continue surviving in that world. Shortly afterward, an infected finds the girl hidden in the mine, but Tanya manages to lure the creature away and leads it far from there. Later, Zoe slowly leaves the hiding spot and begins walking alone once again in search of other survivors. During the journey, she eventually finds Bonin, who has also been bitten and is preparing to take his own life before transforming. Upon seeing the girl, he asks where Tanya is, but Zoe cannot answer. Even understanding the situation, Bonin asks her to keep searching for Tanya because he does not want the woman to end up completely alone. Then he asks whether Zoe understands why he needs to leave, and the girl silently nods, visibly sad. Before saying goodbye, Bonin decides to tell one last joke and manages to bring a small smile to the girl's face one final time. Zoe then leaves the place and continues traveling alone toward the city. Along the way, she finds Tanya's accordion lying on the ground and decides to take it with her before continuing the journey. After walking alone for several days, Zoe finally reaches a deserted highway and stops for a moment to rest. Shortly afterward, she hears the sound of a car approaching and notices a racing vehicle coming toward her. The man steps out of the car and slowly walks toward her while Zoe simply watches him in silence. After removing his helmet, the girl gently asks him not to continue in that direction. The man is moved by the child's situation and decides to take her with him. And so, the film comes to an end.